This is a complex and nuanced conversation, okay? We're gonna talk about oppression in Black people in the United States. Remember, as we enter into a particularly nuanced conversation, these are students. And the word that comes to mind, that just comes off the tongue of people, is oppressed. And people aren't even really saying literally that you are oppressed. It's just we take that word and we put them together.
Oppression is just, I feel like, facing different obstacles and adversities, that, hinder you from kind of like thriving and being like the best person of yourself, I guess you could say.
Restate that. Restate that so that it's true. So we've changed, we've altered this conversation about race in the United States as a result of, after the murder of George Floyd. And what we've kind of moved out into the conversation are words that we just throw around randomly, like oppression. So this word oppression is it's really strong. You just imagine we're looking at them, and as Black people in the US, and the word that comes to mind, that just comes off the tongue of people, is oppressed, okay? And that's because this is the word that's out there so much, right? This is the conversation that we've started, that God started, and the word just goes around. It's like, and it just rolls off people's tongue. And so when Eric said that the other day, I am sure that very few people in this class went, whoa, oppressed. That's a heavy word.
It's a fact that, a lot of Black people in America are, unfortunately, they can be oppressed and bad things can happen to them just because they're Black, right?
Because in the US, increasingly, it's Black people and oppression. You just put them together. There we are. Not all Black people, not all anybody else. The point is, and people aren't even really saying literally that you are oppressed. It's just we take that word and we put them together. And I think, whoa, man. My first thought, just open, what do you think about that?
It's common, but I feel like it's common because it's true to an extent. Black people do experience oppression a lot, on a day-to-day. So, I feel like it's easy to link the two to a race. Not saying that it's right, but it is true. Being that, America was founded really not to help Black people, people experience oppression in all different ways. People experience oppression in the healthcare system. People experience oppression in classes and jobs, things like that. So regardless of how you want to experience it, oppression is everywhere, no matter where you go, because America was not set up for Black people to thrive.
Okay. What's oppression mean to you? Because to me, it's a really strong word. What does that mean for you?
Yeah, because I'm not really big on the textbook definition, but just by experience and just having experience with classes, oppression is just, I feel like, facing different obstacles and adversities, that, hinder you from kind of thriving and being the best person of yourself, I guess you could say. So, like I said, oppression could be in the healthcare system where, you don't have access to healthcare, so you're oppressed in that way. Or, the topic of last class where you can't get a job because you wear your hair in an afro. That's a form of oppression. You know what I'm saying? So,
right.
Oppression, I feel to me, just facing adversity or obstacles, no matter where you go or how you try to set up things.
I think in that sense, it's kind of a similar thing. They're being turned away from opportunities based on their skin color or based on a feature that they can't control and wouldn't necessarily control.
Okay, when you say turned away, what do you mean?
Not given the opportunity. Say two people are equally qualified for a job, one's Black, one's white. I think statistically, it's shown that if the person with a Black name will not be chosen over the person with a white name.
Okay. So here, let me help with that. Restate that. Restate that so that it's true. Because that would mean Brooklyn here. Well, that's not a Black name actually. So give me a Black name. Darnisha. I know a white woman named Darnisha, but I know a lot of Black women named Darnisha. Okay. Shantoya. Right? I don't think I know any white women named Shantoya. Okay. Is that good? Is that a good one? Okay. Shantoya and Megan. That would mean what you said would mean, and I want you to change it because this is cool. That would mean that Shantoya would never ever get a job. Because Okay. So now just say what you said, which is true. What you said is true. The research has shown. But say it differently.
So in that situation, like our names compared, they would likely choose the whiter sounding name over a different race.
More likely. Okay. The research shows. Hey, listen, not only there was one study that showed that 50% more often you would get you with Megan and, a white sounding name, right? But I know a few black women named Megan, so let's not say, right? But anyway, I know a whole lot more white women named Megan. 50% of the time sometimes, but more likely to be chosen, right? Okay, and that's really important because, and we're going to come back there, it's really important that we learn how to say the things that are true, because when we miss them, then we miss the opportunity to really see it. So that's cool. I love what you said. When you oppress someone, what are you doing?
You, I guess, kind of like what she said, you're not giving them an equal opportunity to accomplish something that like a white person could.
Or to participate in something or something, right? Yeah, okay, listen. So here's the thing, right? And this is one of those really hard-hitting words. So we've altered this conversation about race in the United States as a result of, after the murder of George Floyd, okay? Not the death of George Floyd, right? So we've altered the conversation about race, and what we've kind of moved out into the conversation are words that we just throw around randomly, like oppression. But what I heard from you is, yeah, you use this, but you don't mean it. Like, look, for many people, oppression is really harming people. Like you are oppressing them. You are standing on their neck, and in that kind of way. Like, in the United States, workers historically have been oppressed, right? And, but that's not what you mean. Go ahead.
Yeah, people can be oppressed. Like, white people can be oppressed too. Like, my grandfather, he was white, and he was kind of like singled out for marrying a black woman during the time that it happened. So, like, people can experience oppression in different forms. But I feel like when they say black people are oppressed, because black people are oppressed in various aspects of life. It's not just one walk of life or, things like that. Like, it's various aspects. Like, you can't say a white person is going to experience oppression or any form of racism in the healthcare field, socioeconomic field. Like, all these different aspects of life. Like, there's always going to be some part of life within the black. When they're born, you're going to face these struggles no matter where you go.
So Brooklyn just put together race, and she put together socioeconomic class, okay? So by the standards, like if we step outside of the race matrix just per se, and if you're wealthy and black or poor and white, which one do you think is going to be oppressed by the healthcare? More likely, I did what you did. Did you hear that? Like, that's cool. So, like, always watch for that. Which one do you think is more likely to probably be oppressed by the healthcare system? The wealthy black person or the poor white person? Bro.
I mean, if you put it that way, probably the poor person that's in poverty in comparison to someone who has millions of, the way you're saying it, right? Like an extremely wealthy person.
Yeah.
Black person, like, I would definitely
It doesn't have to be extremely wealthy. It could just be like upper middle class. A lot of people are using this word oppression differently than other people are interpreting it. Because a lot of people interpret oppression as like, look, man, hey, Brooklyn, what do you mean you're oppressed? I don't see anyone with their boot on your neck. That's what oppression is. So it's like, what are you talking about? And you're like, no, but that's not what I mean. We're kind of, in a way, redefining the term here. And this is really important because what happens is, and I say this because this has great value, because there are a lot of people who watch videos from this class who have a very conservative orientation. And they can't hear certain things like that unless it's laid out to them. Say, no, we don't mean oppression in that way. We mean it more in this other way. Oh, okay, I got you. Then I can go with it. But anyway, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I feel like back to the whole healthcare thing, it gets a little bit tricky, I feel like, if we're using that example too, because like oppression doesn't always have to just be like in terms of affording healthcare. Like Black women are oppressed in the healthcare system as well, with the whole idea that like, oh, they're stronger enough to like have babies without medication. That's a form of oppression as well.
All sorts of things. Yeah,
so yeah, I feel like it's a lot that goes into like, trying to talk about oppression in certain aspects.
Yeah.
Because like you could be wealthy and Black and still be oppressed because you're a Black woman.
Oh,
that's
listen.
wealthy. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, totally. No, listen, look, the data on healthcare, I did a whole, last semester, I think it was, I don't remember, but we did a whole class on just healthcare on these kinds of questions. What happens in the exchange between doctor and patient? This comes from a conversation I had just 2 weeks ago. I was at the hospital getting some blood drawn, and I asked the phlebotomist, I said, hey, she found the vein, it's pretty easy, you can see for me. I said, hey, by the way, what'd they teach you in school about taking blood from really darkly pigmented people? And she said, and whoa, man, the amount of discrimination that dark-skinned people, including you, dark-skinned people experience that's subtle and not seen unless you do very carefully circumscribed studies,